Good evening, boys and girls. It's a new week. That means we start with a blank canvas. The Highbury squad is live. We are here for Monday Madness and a little William Saliba conversation. Let's roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury squad.
Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome back to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. We are both here. More importantly, he is here, my podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Squaddies, good to be back and good to see yourself and everybody at ease, Squaddies. I don't want to waste no time because this is an important one. At ease, Squaddies.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. It is the moment that I boldly predicted on this show would never happen. I do believe I said at some point, William Saliba will never play for Arsenal. He's not coming back. Super Kev's response to that was, Soph, he's an Arsenal player. His contract is with Arsenal. He will be coming back. And I was like, no, he's not. He'll never put the Arsenal shirt on ever again. Well, here we are.
So can I just add to that? Because there were many Gooners who had the same feeling solely because of how the past has gone. Let's be honest. We've seen Arsenal shoot themselves in the foot time and time again, haven't we? We've seen Arsenal mess up. We've seen them make signings that don't work and all this kind of thing. But I always believed it's because of his age and his youth to get him the necessary minutes. Him being on the bench at Arsenal is going to do him not as much good as him playing a season for Marseille. And that's what I stood on. And you know what? Sometimes you're right to question it. I believe you're right to question it. But, you know, there was no way. Arsenal invested a lot of money in this kid. A lot of money. And what would it say about our football club if he didn't really kick a ball in anger? So it wouldn't look, it will be the wrong message from the top and the bottom.
Correct.
You know, we couldn't recover from it. Any talented youngster wouldn't take Arsenal serious.
Yeah, I completely agree. And some of this has been handled poorly. Some of it has been created by media frenzy, the narrative. There were times where I wish that he would just be quiet. I don't want to sound like, you know, some of the ruder journalists who said the just dribble and play versus having a voice. For every player deserves a voice to voice his opinions. Sometimes I just think when you haven't kicked a ball for the Arsenal, I just want to put this comment up by Chad. I'm completely burnt on this cult of Saliba. And it's Saliba or Saliba. I've been told by Matt Spiro, who I trust, it's Saliba. Yeah, he looks good, but he hasn't played 1 minute of football for Arsenal. He's only viewed as a saviour because of the grass is always greener. Chad, we're going to get to some stats and facts. But Kev, there is some merit to what he's saying, isn't there? I think because we so wanted him to come in, especially after seeing what Fofana had done at Leicester, Kev. We wanted him to come in and have this impact. But then you get a couple of interviews, then you get the video at the end of the season. Didn't mean anything with him saying to his Marseille teammate, hey, it's Champions League football next season. Just meant it wasn't Champions League football for him. What do you say to Chad and Arsenal fans who kind of feel similarly?
As I said, I understand. It's a lot of the time, Sophie, for me, it doesn't look good on Arsenal Football Club that, you know, this young man, everybody's kind of, as Chad says, you know, claiming he's a saviour. I don't think Arsenal see him as a saviour. I think there's a lot of frustration in the Arsenal fan base because it's always, you know, when you see him playing against Mbappe and doing so well in France, you know, you always say in your head, don't you? He should be doing that for Arsenal. But we're going to get that chance now. I think that's the key. We're going to get that chance, and I think we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, Sophie, about when he walks into the building at the Emirates. He's a somebody now. He's not just a young potential player. He's a full French international. He's a young player of the year out in France. He's coming with some kudos, and he's coming with his chest held high, saying, "Listen, I'm here to play." So that's what we want.
What Kev means by the kudos, he was voted Young Player of the Year in Ligue. He also made the Team of the Year in Ligue. In Jorge Sampaoli's Marseille, he had 51 appearances, was without doubt one of the best players in the league. Some would argue could have been doing that for the Arsenal this season. But like Kev said, if he wasn't really going to be getting a chance and starting, he did so in Liga and got that experience, which is why he went there in the first place. Some would argue that maybe he was good enough to start. Before we get stuck into this a little bit more, we've got a massive week coming up on the Highbury squad. We have Susie Rack here, a fantastic journalist who has written a fantastic book about women's football. We'll be covering the Euros, writes for The Guardian, just an epic journalist here to talk about the Euros and get us kickstarted with just a month away for that. Tom Canton will be joining us as well this week for a special on Arsenal and football life. And Swedish Gunnar, you might like this one. I saw your name pop up, hence I wanted to do a bit of quick housekeeping. On Friday, we have Martin Bengstorn in town, and you can correct me if I've completely ruined his last name. But Martin wrote an amazing autobiography about his life at the San Siro and what it was like to be one of the most exciting footballers on the planet going to Inter Milan and how it all went wrong. His story was turned into an Oscar-nominated film. If you haven't seen Tigers, you should. It's a brilliant movie about his life, and he'll be joining us on Friday to talk about his experience growing up as one of the proteges of football and how it all went wrong when he thought that it was all going to go right. So that is an unbelievable show that you're not going to want to miss. Just really cool, top shelf stuff. Also want to thank Gunnerballz, Super Kev, for his continued brilliant art. He always lends his wonderful work to us so we can use it on the show. This was some stuff that he had done previously on Saliba. This when he first joined the club. And this when he kind of got, like all of us, a bit excited about this potential partnership, Super Kev. Gabriel and Saliba together. I know that you are looking forward to it, but there's going to be a guy that's going to have a say in all of this, and that is Mr. Benjamin White. Everyone is predicting that it will be Gabriel and Saliba together, right? Mm-hmm. Shall I do stats first and then you can tell me what you think? Because it's really interesting. Or do you want to just go into...
Well, you do the stats if you want, and then we can go.
Okay, so there's a great piece on Planet Football that talks about the stats comparing Rob Holding, William Saliba, Gabriel, and Ben White. Now, let's get this right. Gabriel had 35 games in the Premier League, 3 in the EFL Cup. Rob Holding started 15 games in the Premier League. Ben White started 32 matches total. William Saliba played 51 matches. But Kev, I think this is really interesting because they break it down on success rate for successful tackles and a whole bunch of other stuff. So bear with me, you guys, for a second. I'm not sure if it's fair to include Rob Holding, but I will because the piece does so. Successful tackles per 90 minutes. Rob Holding 1.6%. And I'm not going to keep saying percent. You guys will know what I'm talking about. It's 1.6 tackles, 1.5 tackles for Saliba, 1.5 for Gabriel, 1.4 for Ben White. That's 94%, 88.2, 83.3, and 73.6%. Okay. Successful aerial duels per 90 minutes. Rob Holding, 3.1. Ben White, 1.9. Gabriel, 1.7. William Saliba, 1.3. Interceptions per 90 minutes. Ben White, 1.3. William Saliba, 1.3. Rob Holding, 1.2. Gabriel, 0.4. Fouls per 90 minutes. Saliba, 0.5. White, 0.6. Gabriel, 0.7. Holding, 1.1. Clearances per 90 minutes. Rob Holding, 4.8. Gabriel, 3.3. White, 3.2. Saliba, 2.2. Passing accuracy. Very important in terms of how Mikel Arteta wants to play, for sure. This might surprise some people. Saliba, 93.1%. Gabriel, 89.3%. Holding, 86%. And Ben White, 84%. Passes completed per 90 minutes. Saliba, 78.7%. Watch this drop off. Gabriel, 53.3%. White, 45.0%. Rob Holding, 42.6%. And goals, we have Gabriel with 4, Holding with 1, and the other 2 with 0. Make of those stats what you like and what you feel. I like data. I like analytics. Sometimes it doesn't comply with what you see on the eye. Kev, what's your take on those numbers?
Well, you could use them. You could use them anytime you want, in whatever context you want. Sometimes you have to take into account Saliba was playing in a 3 as well. So when you play in a 4, obviously there's different discipline that has to be needed, because a lot of the more time you are, it's not 3 dealing with 1, so to speak. It's 2 dealing with 1. So it's maybe it puts more on the defender. But listen, Saliba, what I will say, because he's coming into the 4, you know, he's had the most passes ever so in La Liga. In Liga, passing 2,834 passes in Ligue 1. That's the most ever. And, you know, when we talk about stats, Mikel Arteta wants to build from the back, doesn't he? And this young man has excelled in it. Look, I know there's a certain drop-off with percentages and stuff, but I'm sure if Saliba's playing in a 4, that might drop off a little bit, or you've got to take a little bit more risk. Ben White seems to be more of the risk taker for Arsenal at the back. So you're not always going to get it right. Crossfield passes, bit more searching passes through the midfield. Teams are going to try and read that. So, look, I think we know Saliba's a good player. I just can't wait to see him in the Arsenal shirt doing his thing, Sophie. And you know what, Sophie? For me, I have no problem in Arsenal rotating centre halves. We've seen Liverpool do it. Liverpool have Van Dijk, Matip, and now Konate. There's not a problem at Liverpool. They all play their games, don't they? They all play enough. So I've got no problem. I think Rob Holding really hurt himself in that Spurs game. I truly believe, because that shows that when the time's at its brightest, he's just not that guy. So we need Saliba in.
And everyone's been waiting for this moment. You know, he's been on loan for almost 3 years. And we've seen him be called up to the French international squad. Kev just gave an amazing stat in terms of the history of completed passes of any player in Liga, which it doesn't matter which way you slice it. That's pretty impressive, considering some of the players that have played in Liga. I know that some folks kind of want to have a dig and a laugh at Liga being a farmers league. We've signed quite a few players from Liga. Some have worked out, some haven't. You have some of the best players in the world. Mbappe chose to stay in Liga, yes, albeit for money, but he's staying there. It has evolved over the years. I think it's a bit disrespectful, actually, when you think of teams like, I know PSG have failed in Europe. Lyon have done well in Europe in the past. Marseille is a storied team as well, Kev. I just think it gets a little bit disrespectful when we put our British snooty noses on and look down at Liga like it's it's like a conference league. And I don't really like that, because there are a lot of talented players who play, and French sides have done generally well qualifying for Europe over the years. What's your sense of this poo-pooing it? Oh, he played against Mbappe and Messi and Neymar and Verratti and Angel Di Maria twice in a season, and that's it.
Yeah, but he also played in Europe. He played the game. The key is he played the games. You've got to be playing. For someone so young, you've got to be playing. And he's, we always say you've got to prove it, Sophie. You've got to be out there to prove it. Talk is cheap, Soph. If he was sat on Arsenal's bench, not playing, what good would that be to him? He's got to be playing. And yeah, he's not playing against the top every week, so to speak. But let me tell you something. There's some good players in that French league. There's some players in that French league who people are saying to Arsenal, we should be going to getting. So we can't have it both ways. The key is he's playing. He's earned the right now, Sophie, to come back and have his shot to start at Arsenal.
Okay, so can we talk about that a little bit? Because I put this picture up, Premier League news. Thank you for the Premier League news now. I like this picture, and there's a reason why I'm using it, because he's such a polarizing figure, Ben White, but also Saliba has been a polarizing figure too, Super Kev, because of the reasons that we've just discussed and spoken about, for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like everyone thinks that, not everyone, but a lot of fans think Gabriel's the untouchable one in this situation, and that the competition is going to be between Ben White and Saliba. What would you say if I said to you that maybe there's room for everybody?
Hey, it gives us flexibility.
Right.
So it gives us flexibility.
Is it a case? So let me ask you this, because tactically you're the guy, and I'm tactics aren't exactly my strong suit, but I like to ask questions based on. I've said to you before that Ben White I could see as a CDM as well, but hear me out on this one. So you got Ramsdale in goal, you've got Ben White on the right, you got Gabriel and Saliba in the middle, and Tomiyasu on the left. Maybe. But is it possible to play them together consistently, or is that a case of only if we have injuries will anything like that ever happen?
Sophie, if I said I knew, I'd be lying. I don't.
You'd be Arsenal manager.
Listen, can it happen? Of course it can happen. 100% it can happen. Ben White, we know, can play. And let's be honest, Sophie, Ben White played right back when Rob Holding came into the team at Norwich and at Christmas time. Ben White went to right back. So it's not out of the ordinary that Ben White can do a job at right back. Not out of the ordinary whatsoever. But what this allows us to do, Sophie, it allows us to be flexible. If we want to go free at the back, I tell you this now. Gabriel on the left, Ben White in the middle, Saliba on the right of him as a back three. I like our chances because all three of them could run, all three of them could pass, all three of them could play, and we've got the two big guard dogs either side of Ben White. So anybody who's going to try and come down that right side or left side, they're meeting Gabriel and Saliba. I like the look of that. Then we can push. It might not be Tomiyasu on the right, or it might be Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney on the left. Now we can start getting creative from the center and up front, because we can really go after teams then. So, because what we want to allow teams to do when we go after them is to play it long. And if they're playing it long, they're playing into Gabriel and Saliba's strengths.
Mm. Do you think, Kev, kind of how I started posing the question, that it's a given that Gabriel is the untouchable one? Do I don't
I
think
think he is.
Arteta's
I think he is. I
really.
think,
Do you
yeah,
think Arteta thinks the same?
I think Gabriel is the main link. He's the main one. Remember when he wasn't there at the start of the season, how we were? He gets himself fit. He comes back. And I know, look, he has his moments because he does. He has his moments at times. But I still think he's that leader. He's the linchpin. You know, we've seen Kieran Tierney be there. So as soon as Gabriel comes back, Kieran Tierney settles down. We were questioning Kieran Tierney at the start of the season. You know, was he quite right? You see, agree with me? Gabriel comes back. Ben White settles down. Kieran Tierney settles down. Tommy Arsenal is nice and settled. And Ramsdale can marshal them. I just think Gabriel is the number one. But not to say that we can't rotate, because there's times where I think Ben White and Saliba could start together and we can rest Gabriel.
So if you have that type, I'm with you here, by the way, Kev. I love the fact that, you know, he's coming back. He's done his time.
Done his apprenticeship.
Okay. Yeah. And now he comes back with a chip on his shoulder and a point to prove. By the way, 300 of you in live chat right now. Make Kev happy on this fine Monday. He wants
minimum
half
50%. Minimum, yeah. Minimum. Give me 50.
50.
Give me 50. It's Monday madness. Give me 50% plus, please.
Yeah, it's Monday madness. And you know what? With Saliba coming back, I think it's only fair that we start brucking some, Kev, because when you look at, and maybe even a little bit of this.
Yep. Take the head off, Soph. Go on.
And seeing as he's barked already, we'll just bring the little guy out.
Vinny,
Why
Vinny.
not?
Hit the like. Hit the like.
So I'm with you here. When I look at that back line with those players, not to coin a phrase from Josh Kroenke in any way, Super Kev, but it does get me a little bit excited. I'm not going to get overly excited because, you know, like I was ready to eat my humble pie at the end of the season. Does Arteta want to play a 4-3-3?
Yes.
Is that his desired formation?
Yeah, 4-3-3 is his desired formation, without a shadow of a doubt. It is. But I think he still wants to be able to be flexible. Because certain games against certain teams, you might have to play smarter and go after them a lot more. At the top end of the pitch, press them really high. And if you do that, you're gonna have to know you've got players who can leg it, who can run at the back.
So is the 4-3-3 going to be against teams like City, Liverpool, Chelsea?
Yeah. One thing you don't really do so much against Liverpool is leave your flanks empty. You make sure you have your fullbacks in, or sometimes you go 5 and have it just chock a block in there. City, you know, it's a game of possession. But when we played 4-3-3 against City at the Emirates, we took them apart. So we took them apart. We couldn't finish our dinner at the end of the day, and they ended up beating us. But we're hoping that's the sign of things to come. 4-3-3 will take you on.
So that 4-3-3 would be Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Saliba, Tierney. If we're looking at
we don't know, Sophie, that's the whole thing. We don't know. It might be. Listen, Ben White played against Manchester City this season at the Emirates, and as we say, that was probably our best performance playing wise. But we didn't get the result. I mean, it was unbelievable. We played really well, but we just didn't have the know-how, and maybe a little bit of, you know, pressure hit us at the wrong time. But that was with Ben White playing and Gabriel.
Okay, so hear me out on this one, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
I've bought I've brought Liverpool up as an example in terms of how they've built their team. A little bit like us, I feel. And look, guys, I'm not comparing us to the Liverpool today. I'm talking about the journey to get to where they are today. They started building, I've got my pen and my paper here, Kev. They started building from the front.
Mhm.
And they solidified their journey with the midfield, but really the crux of everything when it all fell into place was when they got Van Dijk and Alisson in goal, right? So they had a very strong midfield, but they also have players that are prolific in front of goal and can dominate games, right? So
Sophie, sorry, I've got to stop you there. Liverpool's building from the front wasn't instrumental from the back.
no,
It was hold on. The key to Liverpool was they were free scoring up front. The cornerstone was Van Dijk and Alisson. But Mane, what does he cost? 30 million. Salah was what? 30 million, something like that. Firmino was already there. The way them three clicked, they could score goals. They were winning games like 5-2 and all that kind of thing. It was wild. Then he knew we've got the top end of the pitch right. We've got the midfield right. Now it's to close the door at the back. And that's what he done. And once you can close the door at the back and you've got a prolific strike force, you've cracked it.
and some folks in chat are, of course, saying that you also have a world-class manager in Klopp to bring it all together.
Yeah, but it's the players. The players go out there and play. Like I keep saying, it don't matter what Klopp, if Klopp sets them up to do X. So here's the thing. If Klopp's world class, Klopp still needed to build the team. It didn't happen for him overnight. He still needed to build a team over years. And that's what that's what he was allowed to do, and that's what he done. And the key is to recognize the pieces that you need. This is why this summer is so important for us.
It is, but also he's a manager that came in who had plenty of experience, won at Dortmund, played at the highest level in Europe with Dortmund, got to Champions League finals. So he came in with a level of experience that maybe, Kev, escalated their journey sooner than maybe Arteta will, based on the fact that, they have Champions League football, they have more investment, but they also have a world-class manager who you could argue is first or second in world football today. Those things escalate your success and your potential. There's no doubt about that.
But he still
right?
had to build.
He did. But let me go back to, I like how you jumped in on the front to back, because let me ask you this, because Ben White is very good passing the ball. We've seen that, you guys. I know he's a polarizing figure and not many of you buy into Ben White, but I think he's shown moments where he's able to do that. Gabriel is not only good at passing, Kev, he's very good at short passing. If you guys want to go look at some stats, and sometimes short passing in football, look at the way Pep's built Manchester City, right? It's not always sweeping. It's short, quick passes. It's take the ball, pass the ball, take the ball, pass the ball. It's the Barcelona philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens, though, when you've got that talent, whether it's Gabriel, whether it's Ben White, or whether it's William Saliba, or even Tomiyasu, who just wants to be the enforcer? I'm going to take the ball and pass it as quickly as I can, a la Lee Dixon, right? Just get rid of the ball. Move forward. What happens when you have a snail like Xhaka in midfield who doesn't necessarily want to move the ball as quickly or sideways pass it? How success, going back to the Liverpool building, how successful can we be if we have these parts, but yet maybe some of the most important components are in the midfield in order to take that baton like a relay race, sprint faster, move faster, take it to the front. A Tillemans and a Partey with a Jesus up front. Now we're talking. But if it's going to be that partnership as it was, do you feel like it nullifies the potential that we have at the back with how we go forward?
I don't think it nullifies because listen, we've done okay passing out from the back. Our problem is it negates another threat going forward. Because for all Xhaka's had a decent season and stuff like that. What's he got? One goal? One goal, Soph? How many assists does he have? Xhaka? 1, 2, maybe. So this is what we've got to look at how we are. Are we progressive as a team? And if we're going to pass it short from the back, we have got to be able to get through teams and hurt them. Xhaka doesn't have the speed to outrun anybody. We get that. Is he a decent continuity player? Yeah, he can get it and keep it, move in, and we know he's got that crossfield ball. But we need players who can hurt you, Soph. That's what we need. Can Xhaka do a job? Of course Xhaka can do a job. But here's the difference. A Tillemans isn't quick, but one thing what he will do, Sophie, he will play progressive and he will assist and he will score. Gundogan at Man City, he's not quick, is he? He's not quick.
No.
But he knows exactly what to do. He knows when to knows when to pass it, knows when to get in the box. And I think Gundogan got 20-odd goals last season, something like that. He got a lot of goals last season. We need goals from around that pitch. So that's what we need. And I think, look, we only realize how good we can be when we see somebody of note in that midfield who could do things differently to Xhaka. Because when we see other players play in our midfield who are experienced, who can really influence the game in a different way, then we're going to turn around and say, we should have done this earlier. Why didn't we get somebody in there who could score goals, who could make a difference? But we're going to need a striker. That's the key to it all. For all these midfielders, you get a striker who can score goals, Sophie. You start going ahead, you're going to win more games.
Kev, do you think that the way Arteta really wants to play, it's like what I love what Fernandinho did at City over the years. What a player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel that I'm a bit nervous about Partey being able to stay injury-free for the whole season. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but can you rely on him? Can we rely on Tierney? Let's hope Tomiyasu stays fit. So you're right in that transfer market becomes ever so important because we fell on our knees with losing those three players. Had those three players been fit, I believe we make the Champions League. So,
I believe so too. But, listen, injuries are part of the game. Kevin De Bruyne has been in, people get injured, so.
Yeah, but look who they have to step in, Kev. It's a totally different ballgame.
But that's the whole point, why this summer is the key. Thomas Partey, when everyone's fit, Thomas Partey is our best player. But what we have to be able to do is rotate. We've got to be able to rotate, Soph.
Yeah, now we're going to have European football and the two domestic cups.
Exactly. We've got to be able to rotate this squad. Key. And Lone Star Londoner, 2 clinical strikers. Listen, please, we need strikers up there who could do the job. That's what we need. 2 clinical strikers is hard to get. 1 clinical strike is hard to get Lone Star, let alone 2.
Exactly. And you could argue if we had a striker who scored 15 goals this season, 12 goals this season, again, we would be
we'd be
a
flying,
whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So, Kev, with these players too, we've seen a lot. I felt like times where we failed miserably because there was a moment or many moments in the season where Arteta kept wanting to pump the ball through Tierney and push on that left flank. But yet, again, There's no Giroud in the middle. There's no Tammy Abraham. There's no aerial force, wasted crosses, wasted moments. And then when played to feet, midfield too slow coming into the box, you know. I mean, if Thomas Partey's fit for me, you saw him at Atletico, and we talked about this too. I mean, he could play that box to box role, you know, with a few games in the season, Kev. I mean, I don't think we've seen the best of him, not even a smidgen of the best of him. But with that back line, do you feel like the midfield, which is why I mentioned Fernandinho, is more of a protective? It's not the channel that he wants to play through mostly. He wants to play through the flanks.
No, I don't.
Which is why.
I disagree. I think he does want to play through there. But when most of our speed was on the left with Tierney, that was the gap where we tended to get beyond teams down the left-hand side. So obviously we've got the dribbling ability on the right of Saka, backed up by Tomiyasu, which worked. They look pretty good together. But I think on that left-hand side, whether it was Tierney, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, I thought we utilized that well. We don't have the strikers, but how do we progress? We've got to take what the opposition give us. And the opposition, one thing they don't want us to do is to be able to play through them in the middle. Like I say, they don't mind it going wide because we haven't got anybody in the center. When we cross it, we've got nobody in the center to head it. So I think it's either you bang your head through a brick wall trying to go through the middle, or you get down the outside. We got down the outside, but we didn't have the personnel in the middle to create havoc. That's our problem. The moment we have people who recognize, okay, well, we're going to stop that because they're crossing it and they're scoring goals that way, is where teams do that. Now we can play through them. So whichever way you want to play us, you want to tighten the middle, we go down the outside. You want to play honest and cover everything, now we can play through you. But it boils down to one thing, Soph. When we get the chance, whether we go wide or we go through the middle, we've got to take the chances. If we don't take the chances and we don't put ourselves up, the opposition get comfortable and confident, a la Crystal Palace at home. You remember that game where we're winning 1-0 and next minute, second half, we find ourselves 2-1 down. Why?
That was brutal.
It's brutal because we're not killing teams off.
It really has been our Achilles heel. If there's one thing that we did improve on was the cohesiveness at the back, even though it fell apart a little bit towards the end of the season. But when you have two players like Tommy and Kieran that are the nucleus of how that ticks and how that works, it's inevitable. Then you lose the engine in the midfield in Partey, and it's a ball breaker. And then you have the leadership of Lacazette, but unfortunately you do not have the output of goals by Lacazette. You could argue that maybe that transition to Eddie should have happened sooner in the season, but the way Lacazette was also able to help the team with his Bobby Firmino style, holding up the ball, opening up the channels, bringing in other players, I think that went a little bit underappreciated. But eventually when the team's not scoring, Kev, or losing, and your striker isn't scoring and missing chances, then that becomes a moot point, doesn't it, really?
And he started to look weary.
Yes.
Didn't he?
Completely.
He looked really tired because, Sophie, being up there on your own and doing all that, it is grunt work. Trust me, it's hard work. You're the only person who's getting the buffeting. You've got so much responsibility on you. And unfortunately, he couldn't keep it up. So he couldn't keep it up.
Sire says we need a Rodri type player, Soph, that will calm the midfield so Partey can play box to box. Look who Partey played beside him. Yes, exactly. Kev, I agree with this wholeheartedly, because when I've seen Partey play that way, my goodness, woo, it's
because he feels comfortable in going. Because he knows he's protected behind him. You know, when if Partey goes forward and it breaks down, next minute teams up, it's like the charge of the light brigade back towards our goal. He's going to stop going because he knows that I need to be in that midfield to stop all that.
Do you see that happening if Tielemans joins the team? Can Partey play that role?
No,
with him, because Tielemans likes to move up as well. Kev.
Tielemans is the offensive one, but Partey's proved being that defensive shield, he can do that easy. The key is, where's my outlets for the passes? And not only the outlets, you've got to be productive with it. So Ødegaard, we saw Ødegaard have a really good season, I thought. Most of the time, we saw Xhaka have his probably one of his best seasons. So, but the production from Xhaka, he got one great goal, but we need more. So we've got to be demanding. We need more. We want to get up there. We want to challenge. We need more. We need goals from midfield, and we need assists.
That's our biggest problem. Is, you know, when you look at how Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka were our top scorers this season. And, you know, one of the things I think, who was it that, I can't remember who Gerard was talking about the Liverpool midfield, maybe. I think it was Gerard who was talking about more goals from midfield. You know, it's so important, Kev, to have, and Arsenal in the past had always had those players that were able to ingrain themselves in the game and get those goals. And Aston Mack, one of my favorites, welcome back to the show, listening live. It's the dream. For me, Jude Bellingham is the dream signing. If you want to show ambition and you want a player of the future that's going to be there for and make him the Don of all Dons, he's used to playing, you know, he's earmarked for Liverpool, apparently, Kev, but that's the type of player I would love for us to go after and say, you know what? We're going to break the bank and sign this guy.
But I don't think you need to. I don't think we need to break the bank. I think there's players there who can come in and do. Neves could do a really good job. Basuma could do a really good job in our midfield.
But are they as good as someone like Bellingham? We're always going for the can do a good job. What about
but they're proven. Here's the crazy thing, Soph. Jude Bellingham hasn't kicked a ball in the Premier League. I've no doubt he's a top player.
Neither has Saliba, but everyone's salivating over him.
No, but this is what I'm saying. We're only going to know when they get there. Do you understand what I mean? We don't know. Let Saliba come in. We think we know he's a good player, and he's young, but Basuma's young. Basuma's been playing Premier League. Neves has played Premier League. And do you know what, Sophie? Here's the thing. Sometimes you don't necessarily need, we need this wonderful player. We need a player who could do their job. That's what some of our problems is. We haven't got players who do their job.
I mean, I've said that to you all season. If only everyone consistently did their job. Like, no square pegs, round holes. Just put players in their positions and let them do their job, you know. And I think our problem is that there's so many games where players have bad games at the same time. Crystal Palace, Brighton, Southampton, Everton, Newcastle away, you know. But also there's been times where a manager who's learning on the job has learned the hard way as well. And the hierarchy have learned a massive lesson that when Champions League football is on the line, you go for it. You go for it. You don't just go back to your, 3-year plan.
Well,
it's now. Football's instant gratification. It's today. It's now. It has to be now.
Yeah, but that's a fan thinking. Clubs can't think like that. They can't, Soph.
Newcastle were in the now and in the moment.
No, Newcastle had to stay in the league.
Of course, but they had to throw the kitchen sink at it. Tottenham threw the kitchen sink at the January transfer window in the sense that they got a couple players and they were the team that got Champions League football.
Yeah.
We whiffed. We whiffed.
Yeah. And again, Sophie, we could talk about this until I agree with you. Yes, we did. But again, there is still a bigger picture that they're working to. May not be what we want, Soph, because we wanted strikers in, we wanted players in January. I get it. But they're working to a different time frame to us. That's what they're doing. They're working to a different time frame to us. But again, now this summer is going to tell us everything we need to know, Soph. Everything we need to know about what they want to do, we're going to find out in this window.
Are you optimistic, Kev?
I think they're gonna bring in typical them just enough. So you know me, I want 8 players minimum. I think they're gonna bring in just enough. Maybe 4 players, 5 players.
Do you think that hey Marky Mark, how you doing? If you miss Mark, he's on a dating show on TV. Check out his Twitter account and you can check that out. He got the girl. He got the girl in the end, Kev.
Oh, of course he would.
Whether or not they're still together is a whole other conversation. Can I ask you this? Do you think that the Jesus courting is going to end up like Vlahovic?
No. I think Mikel Arteta knows the player, doesn't he? It's not as if he doesn't have Vlahovic. He's worked with the player before. He knows the player. And I think that one's going to get done, Soph, if I'm honest. I think that one's definitely going to get done. He needs to be the main man. That's what he needs to do. Coming off the bench at City and doing all this, that. No, he's still playing at Brazil. Scored the other night. He still does it. He's still an international. He's a fine player, but he's hungry and he presses hard. We need someone up there who can do that, Soph, who's got the energy then when we win it to get in the box.
All right, 450 of you in live chat. I'll leave the last few minutes open.
There must be 225 likes. They've got to be.
Our chief like officer, will you please alert us as to the likes? We would like to hear from you. Yeah. Please do tell us. I'll open it up to questions for Kevin while we have him. He's got a very busy schedule this summer, so he's going to be joining us when he is able. The Football Frenemies show launches this week, Super Kev. It is a brand new series here on Highbury Squad, and you may know the first guest that is appearing. It will premiere tomorrow. These will be pre-recorded shows, but I'll be joining you in the live chat so we can go back and forth. Football Frenemies, episode number 1, recorded today, played today, Monday, June 13th, will air tomorrow. It's Arsenal versus Newcastle, and a fantastic Geordie Pete Redding making his Football Frenemies debut. So that show, Kev, is fun.
Great guy, Pete. Geordie Pete. What a guy.
You'll learn more about him and what he's doing. I would say it started off politely, but as the season goes, it's going to get uglier because we've got Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea.
Oh, love it. Lovely.
We've got quite a few coming up. So Football Frenemies, a new show for you for this summer as well. That is a lot of fun. Kev, let's see what we've got.
I like that one, Wesbird. Caress that like button, please, squaddies. Come on.
Absolutely. Mo, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
For Mike the 13th. Yeah, happy birthday.
I forgot to hit the like button. My mother would be ashamed of me.
Come on, Magic. Come on, Mike. You're another Magic. Come
on. Patrick, cheeky question. When has Adu planned to go on holiday? Cliff knows.
He could go anytime. He could go anytime he wants, mate. As long as he brings the signings in, I don't care.
Exactly. Chief Like Officer says we're on 169. Oh, now it's moved to 171. Keep them coming up.
Come on, keep it going. Come on.
Is it right? Is Mr. Judges in the house? Is Gianni Judges? I haven't seen him, but I've seen people say hello to Mr. Judges. Oh, look at that. Oh, there you go.
Says hello. Oh, look, listen, I had a lovely, absolutely fantastic time with Lee and Mark and the ladies, Michelle and Marcia. We had an absolute ball. And Mark is AKA Mike Gattin's brother, Steve Gattin, who played at Arsenal. And he got some love in Manchester from a fan. That's to put it that way. That's why he's got the smiley faces. It was a really good time with Lee. I hope you're well, mate, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon, Lee.
Yes, I think we'll get Mr. Judges on our summer series. That's for sure. Always good to hear from Lee. Right, here's a couple of quick questions before we duck out, you guys. Never like to leave it when the house is full. It'd be like walking away from the casino. You know what I'm saying? Gunnar Colt, Kev, if you could have a Tammy type or Jesus type to lead our strikers, what is the type of striker you would prefer?
I prefer both. If there had to be one type of striker, I think a Jesus would suit us obviously a lot more because we want to play. We've got quick players and we want to interchange. But we still do need a big striker. We do, because there's times where teams allow us to go. Sophie mentioned it before, and rightly so. They do allow us to go down mostly the left-hand side. And Kearney whips these balls in. We haven't got no presence in there. And not to say that the striker's going to out-jump the defense every time. But the key is the defenders do not clear it nice and easy. And then they can reset. They've got somebody in there to worry about. And we've got players who can come in and finish balls off. We go 1 or 2-0 up, and then they have to open up, and then we kill them. That's the name of the game.
Love that. I saw this and I had to put, maybe one day when we have Lee Judges and Kevin on at the same time, they'll share an Andy Cole story with you. I'll leave it at that. Maybe. I don't know, but it's hilarious. Okay, this is from a Tottenham fan. Danny D causing havoc in the house. You know what? You reined it in a little bit, so I'll ask your question to Kev. If you were Jesus, would you choose Spurs or Arsenal manager team ambition?
Arsenal. I'll choose Arsenal. And there's 2 reasons why I would choose Arsenal, Danny. One is you see Kane and Son, and you think to yourself, hold on a minute, I'm coming from Man City. We don't even have a striker there, and I'm finding myself on the bench. You've got 2 of the best strikers in the Premier League. So where am I going to fit in? So I don't think that one's a starter. And the second part is, I think I mentioned it before, the fact that he's worked with the manager, he knows the manager, he knows what the manager wants to do, and there's getting to be a Brazilian core at Arsenal, isn't there? There seems to be a Brazilian core building. So I think that's another reason why Jesus will come. And thirdly, just to add a little bit of sugar on top, hundreds and thousands, he wants to be the main man. He wants to play strike and he wants to be the main man. So, that's probably why.
One from Archangel. Why does Tierney now put in low crosses?
Not put in low crosses, you mean?
Not putting low crosses.
Because
Tavares does.
Probably because when he goes down the line, he would probably just see a sea of defenders. So if you put in low crosses, it has to get through a hell of a lot of players for it to go low. How many times does Tavares cross it low and we get on the end of it? Very rarely.
Wadia says, what do you think of Anthony from Ajax? I wish Arsenal would sign him. He's a great baller. I like him.
Yeah, Anthony's a good player, but we signed him to play where? We've already got Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, and we're talking about possibly a Serge Gnabry, etc. Anthony's a good player, but I think we're already well right in that situation.
Okay. A couple more. We got time for a couple more. Don't forget that this week we've got great shows lined up. We've got Susie Rack on. We have Tom Canton on. And on Friday, we have Martin Begston on to talk about Tiger's film and his autobiography and his time spent at Inter Milan when he joined the academy. It's a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But we'll be talking to Martin on Friday. Kev, this is a question that we've been asked a fair bit. Richarlison?
Listen, let me tell you something. He is an excellent player. Excellent. He's another one, Soph, who can play anywhere across the three. And he's not your typical Brazilian. He can play with his back to goal. He can play wide. He can run channels. He can head it. He can score spectacular goals. He can score tap-ins. And you know what? He's got a bit about him to upset the opposition as well. You know, he's got a bit about him. He's got a bit of, got a bit of grit and determination in him, which I love. And he's a young lad who came up from humble beginnings. He scored as well for Brasilia. So again, that Brazilian core, you just never know.
We used to be known as the second French international team. Maybe we'll be known as the second Brazilian team. Yeah. Let's ask this one because it's interesting. Which where has it gone? It was from Lee Skywalker. Into Skywalker Ranch, fantastic place. Are Arsenal still in the running for Hickey? And why do Spurs always hijack the big six transfers? Okay, can I tackle the second part? Spurs do not hijack the big six transfers. Did you see what happened with Luis Diaz? Did you see what happened with Willian? I mean, they were the lucky ones in the end. But they do not hijack big six transfers. I'm not sure where you got this piece of information wrong, but Lee Skywalker...
Oh, and always hijack the big six transfers.
Yeah.
Not sure. It must be talking about the WEFL. Because it can't be the EFL.
I think maybe he meant, why do Spurs always get hijacked? That's
no, he's saying, why do Spurs always hijack the big six transfers?
No, I'm saying, I think he's got a typo. I think he meant they get hijacked.
I don't think he does. And are Arsenal still in the run for Hickey? I don't have no idea. Maybe. But I think, Arsenal going to get linked with a lot of different players. Hell of a lot of different players. And yeah, they got to get that one right, I think, Sophie.
Yeah.
If they wanted
Tommy and we got Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Danny D. These are all aimed at you now. Just a bit of revenge for you and Ethelston in the house. Right. Kev, 57 minutes in. And I think we've covered it all. In summary, I think fans, dare I say, not going to say anything actually. What's your assessment if you were to give a 1 minute?
Come on, Soph. Come on. Let me listen, because if you remember rightly, when you made that statement and I came at you and said, Soph, I think a lot of the squaddies came after me and said, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. You're deluded again. So again, Soph.
Well, maybe, I won the humble pie race, which I never wanted to.
No, I know. Hey, listen, I know. Don't worry. It's nicely. You can freeze it. It's frozen there now. We're
going to defrost it before the season starts.
No, not before the season starts. It's going to stay well frozen until we're deep into next season. Let me tell you, 2023 is coming out potentially. But
I do have a piece of art from Newman, which I've forgotten about. But I will post it this week. It's for you,
What's
Kev.
He saying, Casey needs to eat his humble pie.
Yeah, he sent me humble pie art for you. Oh,
well, listen, don't show it to me because I don't want to see it. I don't want to see his art. I think we give Newman too much kudos on this show, Soph.
Wow.
I think he's got to change next season because he's not the only one. There's a lot more squaddies than him. He gets too much.
Yeah, I've been parking him a little bit lately. How about we send him on loan like Saliba for a couple of seasons?
No, I'll tell you what we can do. We could send him on loan for the summer to Sweden or something, and then he could come back at the start. He could come back for pre-season. And then we'll assess him then, see how he's going.
You could take Taib with him as well. Yeah, but no, you guys are awesome. It's I love it. Miss the Monday Madness shows.
I'm only joking. I'm only joking, Newman. But your art is crazy, man.
This might be the smartest thing he's ever said, Kev. It might just be.
But they're used to all that, Soph, because they don't do anything.
I know.
So
I know. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Thank you, Gunnerballz, and everyone for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun talking and about this situation that I never thought would come to fruition and be. I never thought he'd come back, but the return of this guy, and this guy may have something to say about it. Maybe it's going to be these two playing together up front. Maybe Ben White wants to hush some talk
doubters.
And some doubters, because this guy's coming in. He's going to move in on someone's turf. Everyone expects these two to be the guys. And is this guy really ready to kiss the badge and wear the shirt and play his heart out for the Arsenal? We will only know next season, Super Kev. We will only know next season.
And you know what, Sophie? It's exciting. You know, to know that he's coming back and he's committed to coming back is good for us. I think it's really good for us. The key for us now, Sophie, is get it right in the midfield and up front. That's what we got to do. Absolutely. You get that, and we got plenty to be thankful for. Sorry
if there was a lot of noise in the background, but it's funny, as we were joking about Tottenham, my trash man came. Then the doors are all open, so I'm not sure what happened there. Very professional here in our studio. You know, you can hear it all sometimes, and that's just the way we like it. Kev, how's your week shaping up? You're busy. You're enjoying the summer so far. Everyone's been asking after you, making sure you're having a good summer.
It's because a lot of the stuff I do now is humanitarian stuff. So I don't really get the opportunity to do too much during the season. So now I get busy with all that sort of stuff. So a lot of it is I'm not even about. I'm out and about all day. So yeah.
Soak him up while you can. If you could ask Kev one more question, what would you want to ask him right now while I do some housekeeping stuff here? You know what? We're not going to be live every single day because we are going to take a little bit of time off during the summer, realigning, getting the darts ready for next season, of course. Some more fun stuff coming from the Highbury squad. I'm really looking forward to you guys watching the Frenemies.
Hi, Lynn.
The Football Frenemies episode as well. Thank you, Wada. That means a lot to us. Very much so. Couldn't do the show without you. We've got the summer series, of course, coming up. We're going to have the Women's Euros as well. We'll have a little bit of fun along the way. We'll still be here for you. A lot of people have reached out, Kev, saying that they've missed us.
No questions.
Yeah, let's see real quick. Marquinhos, will he play?
No, I think they'll sign him, but he won't play. He'll go out on loan. Again, you know, him being at Arsenal, he probably won't start. So get him out on loan and get him some minutes somewhere else and let him learn.
Kev, if you could sign another player, who would it be?
Another player? Well, who have we signed?
Well, Saliba's coming back. Matt Turner was signed like in the January transfer window. Someone was asking about Trusty. Come on, guys, stop.
Listen, I'll sign. Truthfully, for what we want to do, I think Jesus is a really good signing. I really do think he's a good signing. I really do. Because you know what, Sophie? Here's the funny thing. And I don't really want to make the comparison about the end of his career. But you remember when we signed Thierry Henry? Nobody knew what Thierry Henry was going to become at Arsenal.
No.
Nobody knew.
No one knew what Petit or Vieira or...
But we know about Jesus. We know Jesus is a winner.
Yeah.
We know he's a Brazil international. We know he can play multiple positions. We know he's a strong striker. So someone with that energy, with that youth, I think it's going to give us another dimension. I really do. And he's one who would, I'm hoping him and Odegaard get that understanding.
Wesbird and Sean have pretty much asked the same question. I know you enjoy some of these. Kev, if you transfer one Arsenal player from the past to the current team, who would it be? For me, you just mentioned him.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's got to be Thierry Henry for the goals, for the talismanship, etc. Because that's, if we had Thierry Henry this season gone, where would we be?
I think above Chelsea.
We'd be way up there because he's a difference maker, isn't he? He's a difference maker. He's that good. He's the difference maker. We struggle to have a striker who was a difference maker. Although we know listen, on here, we respect and we love what Lacazette brought to the table. But also we're a little bit disappointed because we needed more. We needed more goals. We didn't get it, but we understand. Eddie came in, done a decent job at the end. Understand that, but both of them ain't the answer. They're not the answer. We need somebody else up there or two players who can really do the business. Do the business.
We agree there. Kyle says, great show, guys. Only stumbled across this channel at the back end of last season, and you're the go-to channel now. Excellent content. Well done, Kyle. Thanks, mate. That means a lot to us.
Brilliant,
Thank you
Kyle.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
I think we'll leave it there, Kev. We've gone 6 minutes into added time. Not bad for me. Not bad at all. Kev, what say you to the troops? We got the half likes. We're past the 200 mark, so they did good there.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, here's what I will say. Thank you so much for your time, because time is everything. And Sophie, thank you for setting up another Monday Madness for the squaddies and for myself. Always nice to speak to the squaddies. And squaddies, you know, this is normal now. Always tell your loved ones you love them and don't put it off. Tell them you love them and look after yourselves until next time. I might not see you. I don't know if I'm going to be seeing you this week at any stage, but I'll see you when I see you. And I love you and take good care.
Very nice, Super Kev. Very nice. Yeah. And he will send us the odd video wherever he can and whenever he can to be part of the content as we go. Right, look out on the community page on YouTube and Twitter for the next show. Football Frenemies premieres tomorrow at 8 p.m. UK time, so you will not want to miss that. We've got Susie Rack on Wednesday. We've got Tom Canton on Thursday. And we've got Martin Bengston on Friday to talk about his film. It's a busy week already. That's busy just schedule. Like we like it. Kev, take us out.
Right, squaddies. Squaddies! Get ready, squaddies. Have a great week and always join Sophie and the guests and me, Super Kev, when you can. We love you. Take it easy. And at ease, squaddies. At ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.